Hello and welcome back, everyone, to another Nintendo game. And what is this Nintendo game, Mr. Cloud?
Cell shaded. Kirby!
Kirby is racing a thing!
Kirby's
Actually,
ate
a thing!
Dun, dun,
Him's got sword, him's got wheelie, he's got ice, bomb, apparently flight.
It's a pretty damn good eye catch. My eyes
Yeah,
caught.
very good eye catch.
Very Super Smash
Especially
Brothers.
with samurai attacks. Waha!
To
Hey,
victory!
Meta Knight. Bye, Meta Knight. That'll be the only time we see Meta Knight in this game, sadly.
Dang it.
Yeah, welcome everyone to Kirby Air Ride for Rocket Rabbit Commentaries. And in this playthrough, I'll be going through a kind of general run of Kirby Air Ride. I'll be showing off each of the different gameplay modes, as well as completing a decent amount of the city trial checklist. There is one particular event that I want. There's one particular thing on the city trial checklist that I want to do, and once I have that done, that will be the end of the playthrough. Which is why the playthrough is only 11 parts long.
While you're taking a curve, press A to boost. Slide and then dash forward. You charge up bro power. When your bro meter is completely full, release the A button and win games.
Now, as simple as the control scheme for Kirby Air Ride is, there's actually a lot of different complexities that go in to each of the different racing machines that we'll be using throughout the run. Specifically, we're going to be using what is the most beginner-friendly of the machines for a majority of our air ride time once we unlock it, because it is a Nintendo game. There's a progression system, and the progression system is okay, just not great.
Lots of different courses.
Beanstalk Park.
We will be seeing all of the different courses except, I think, Nebula Belt. And that's because unlocking Nebula Belt for Air Ride takes a little bit more than I think I was willing to do. But I could be wrong. So why am I doing a single-player run of Kirby Air Ride? Well, mostly because I don't actually have other persons to play with, and it is a very sad and lonely life at this level. But, you know, Kirby Air Ride, for most people, lives and dies on its multiplayer aspect, specifically in the City Trial game map. The Air Ride and the Top Ride gameplay modes, although are very nice and succinct, are kind of lackluster when you're first starting out your Air Ride experience.
It's a learning curve that first the game has to teach you, and learning is hard. Moving this fast and having to learn and responding to the signs on the road. See, I mean, they went over a lot of things in the tutorial. I believe they omitted the road signs. That could have been very useful to have elucidated on before I entered the race course.
Well, the road signs aren't on every course, is one thing.
God damn it. Final lap!
Yeah, Beanstalk Park is incredibly simple. It very much is really just this oval. And to be fair, for a first course, having it be a simple oval is very nice. It's what Double Dash did with Luigi Circuit, so you know.
Oh, we have a competitor.
Will we actually win our first race? We won our first race. Woohoo!
Just by the skin of our flab.
Yes.
So many Kirbys.
Seconds. Nice. So every time you successfully complete something on the checklist, you get notified that your checklist has been updated. It's very nice.
Save contents to the C folder.
Yes, because again we are using the GameCube emulator Dolphin in order for me to run GameCube games. Mostly because attempting to set up physical recordings for GameCube and Wii titles would be a bitch and a half for me. One, I don't actually have a working GameCube at the moment, or a working Wii, and two, it would also require a shitload of other hardware for me.
Like an actual analog to HDMI converter. Hell yeah. Because they make those. I haven't used it yet. I was thinking about using it one day, but my God, would it be cool if somebody actually used that to convert GameCube, N64, into what is basically the HDMI equivalent, but I also haven't had it tested for latency. There are many questions on this matter. However,
those usually don't have that big of latency issues. The usual thing that you have to worry about is instead of controller latency, it's lost frames on the conversion, because that can be a bit issue, specifically if you're trying to do rather significant recordings. This is the plasma power. Plasma, much like it did in Kirby Superstar, requires you to wiggle around your D-pad / control stick in order to build up a charge. And at each different level, the attack is slightly different. At full charge, it is a plasma bomb in front of you, and it is very, very effective at hitting enemies that are behind you, but not in front of you, sadly.
So the powers are actively creating these mini-games during the race using the very simple controls, as I want to remember, was the very first thing the game said is, there are only 2 buttons. It's the analog stick and the A button. So let's give you as many different mini-games as possible, like the boost meter, and wiggling the joystick back and forth in order to build up static cling. I am Electric Man.
A lot of the set pieces for these courses are honestly really fun to really fun to play with. Yay, we actually will beat our second race as well. Again, just barely.
Woo! So many Kirbys in the audience, and they're all clapping. They're adorable hands.
We got the white Kirby skin. Nice.
Yay.
But yes,
Ghost
there
Kirby.
There are different skins, machines, sound test options, and and technically there are 2 other characters you have the ability to unlock. Unlocking King Dedede and Meta Knight is something that I am not willing to do, because unlocking Meta Knight requires, I think it's defeating 1,000 enemies lifetime, and that just takes a long ass time. And King Dedede requires something else specific on the checklist to unlock. I honestly do not remember what the requirements for Meta Knight and King Dedede actually are.
Well, I tell you what, man. I mean, I don't know if you can put 100 hours into this game, but...
Oh, you can put 100 hours into this game. As a point of fact, one of the city trials checklist ones, I think, is spend, is it 10 hours airborne? I think it's 10 hours airborne.
Damn.
Maybe it's just a full hour, but yeah, it is fucking nuts the amount of time that you can actually put into this, specifically on checklist completion. Checklist completion is the primary thing that you'll be spending a majority of those hours doing, and although going for checklist completion will most certainly get you somewhat better at the game, you have to figure out what the checklist actually wants you to do in order to get that done, because specific challenges are significantly harder than where they are placed on the checklist.
So you can't build progress towards Meta Knight unless you already have the square that says, oh, unlock this hidden thing by completing said challenge.
Not true at all. As a point of fact, if that was the case, you would never make any progress in the checklist. Assuming that you do the thing correctly, then you will assuming that you do the thing correctly, the checklist will automatically update us telling you that, hey, you did this thing correctly. Here are the things that you got for it. A majority of the checklist doesn't actually give you unlocks, but it will tell you, it will give you spaces on the checklist that will tell you how else to unlock things.
I love the little flashes to the camera that Kirby makes while he's riding. He's very good at nice. He's very good at Twitch streaming.
Let's see. We got the Wagon Star and the Swerve Star and the Winged Star. Woohoo!
Right into first.
All right. The Wagon Star is actually my favorite of the base machines that we have, despite the fact that it is objectively pretty goddamn terrible. The thing about the Wagon Star that makes it something that I really like is the fact that it actually has relatively good acceleration, top speed, and handling in comparison to a majority of the other machines. It is not, in fact, the most beginner-friendly of machines, though, because although it does have decent all-around stats, it can't actually go into a boost.
I had to laugh because Kirby looks like he's riding an ice cream truck.
Honestly, I always think it's a toaster. Well, it's fitting that it would be an ice cream truck since we're on the ice level.
Oh yeah.
This particular section, though, of this track, I hate this slalom section. It is so easy for a majority of the ride machines to just get thrown off of that path. And it is not a comfortable pathway up through there.
About as uncomfortable as the White Wave level from F-Zero X. Oh yeah, because that also had like the half pipe tube structure, making tight turns, and you also are challenged to just stay on because you got instant death if you fall down below. Yeah, they definitely took cues from previous Nintendo racing games, like
specifically Mario Kart. A majority of this game actually feels like a much more simplified version of Mario Kart.
Well, Mario Kart wasn't so much about sliding left and right, which is
it was. Ever since Mario Kart 64, when they fully implemented the power drift mechanics, Mario Kart has always been about the difficulty to the learning curve of the game itself. We only took second that time, sadly.
Well, okay, so maybe it's not the slipperiness so much as your focus as the gamer, that F-Zero X challenges you to stay on the course. Mario Kart challenges you to stay, to essentially, also, there are hazards in Mario Kart, I'll grant that, but let me say, too, that, well, there's usually not a bottomless pit of hell on the side of the course.
Do you not remember most of the incarnations of Rainbow Road?
No, Rainbow Road is amazing, but dangerous. There's also, wait, no, that wasn't a racing course. I'm trying to remember Bowser's Castle from Mario Golf. I think Mario Golf.
And Bowser's Castle in Mario Kart also has bottomless pits, usually.
Yeah, on the higher difficulty levels. Well, I suppose then.
Well, the thing about Mario Kart races is that the higher difficulty levels are usually determined by how fast people are allowed to go, and how skilled the AI actually is, as opposed to changing any of the as opposed to changing the track layout. The Wagon Star does not perform that well in the air. It doesn't. But it performs relatively well. It performs relatively well on normal ground. So
yeah, the handling on this toaster could use a little work. Needs more toast.
It could, but I stand by the Wagon Star being the second most beginner-friendly vehicle that we have access to. The most friendly one is the one that you think would actually be the least friendly, oddly enough. The Swerve Star, which we will be using for a majority of the rest of the playthrough, is pretty much objectively the most friendly beginner-friendly vehicle, simply because it has the highest top speed, zero acceleration, negative acceleration, because it starts at top speed and is only allowed to be at top speed, and it lacks the ability to turn. You would think that this would make it the absolute worst vehicle, but in practice, it's actually the second most beginner-friendly.
Oh, it's damn simple, because your acceleration finally doesn't depend on how consistently you could stay on the course. Well, wait, but so if it's always at top speed, what happens when you fall off and get back on?
It just immediately jumps back to top speed after you get back on the course.
Yeah, that's pretty beginner-friendly. Because more experienced players would already heed the punishment aspect by just staying in the middle of the fucking road.
All right, we're moving quite well along on the Air Ride checklist.
Beanstalk Park.
Sorry, this is Beanstalk Park. I was talking about Fantasy Meadows earlier. Beanstalk Park has got some really interesting set pieces in it, specifically the Ferris wheel that which I think we're going to end up taking all 3 laps this time around.
Swing hidden path.
It's not really a hidden path. The grind rails are relatively obvious, and you'll end up taking them on accident most of the time. And the wagon star actually really likes taking the grind rails. So
yeah, they definitely wanted to draw attention to how poor the handling is on this, because it's got this really broad. The wagon star's got this really broad side that is clearly visible and easy to remember. That I'm not doing so well. Maybe I should change my stupid boxcar rocket ship.
Yeah. A lot of what Kirby Air Ride specifically draws to me, well, rather, a lot of what Kirby Air Ride makes me think about is the amount of chaos that's happening moment to moment on these courses, specifically from the player's perspective. Because, goddamn, there is a real sense of speed going through a majority of these courses, regardless of what ride machine you're running.
For example,
there's us using the Ferris wheel.
That is chaos in action. Is that the game will not punish you for getting the wrong timing; it will just throw you a different way.
Come on, stay on the upper path.
Yeah, I
we
can
missed the grind rail.
I can kind of see where the invisible walls are placed on the side of the course. Or is there always an invisible wall on the side of the course?
Now, there are plenty of invisible walls on the course.
Just not enough. And then you get to the end of CTR.
A majority of the courses are only 2 laps, and I actually like that. That way the tracks don't actually overstay their welcome. And in the next episode, we will finish off our showcase of AIRRIDE.
Yay.